Mets, Braves in Atlanta. The series is finally here. The first time the two face off in Atlanta since the end of September. You remember it well. September 30th, that Monday. After every other team was done, the Mets and Braves had to play two. And the Mets had to win one to make the playoffs. And they won one in grand fashion. That 8-7 insane comeback victory on that Monday against the pitcher they're facing tonight, Spencer Schwellenbach. So a lot of memories today as the Mets go to Atlanta of that magical day where the Mets clinch and then the Braves clinch in game two. Well, the Braves, as you see from the standings below, nowhere near clinching anything right now. The Mets are atop the division, but that doesn't mean much to me. I think the Braves can at any point go on a run, and this is a huge game tonight, and the Mets trying to stop the bleeding after getting spanked by the Rays at Citi Field over the weekend. Tonight's not a must-win, but it's a kind of have-to-win to feel better about the team and them not going on a little bit of a summer swoon dry spell. We're a couple of ways from the start of summer, and you're watching Mets Daily, of course, and you can smash that thumbs up in this video. I'm your host, Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Radio on all social. Make sure you comment below how you feeling about the series. Send us your predictions. Let us know in the comments, and we'll start reading your comments on every show moving forward. I'll try to get the day before's comments section and try and pick one or two of the best ones. And we'll do that at the end of the show today. I'll go to your comments. So we appreciate the comments. We appreciate the support. And, of course, you can become a member, a Mets Daily Insider member, just $5 a month. Click join. Click subscribe if you're not. But then click join and be a part of the family, at least for a month. See how you like it. Well, the first exclusive video dropping this weekend, and then the first watch party next week, and then giveaways to come in July. So get ready. Free stuff. Extra videos, all for just $5 a month if you become a Mets Daily Insider. So support the channel, support me, support the family. And thank you so much for watching. It is Tuesday, June 17th, 2025, and all 7:15 p.m. games. Let's take a look at the series preview against the Braves. Obviously, the brothers there pictured, Luis Angel Acuna and Ronald Acuna. And as I said, the Mets' last trip was magical that Monday. It was good for the Braves, too. They clinched in the night game, but obviously we know the Mets went a little bit further than the Braves did, and you see the standings, you see the records there, a lot different, but you just never know. It's a house of horrors in Atlanta, and it starts with a tough one with Schwellenbach, who on that day dominated. It took the Mets getting to the bullpen and him coming out of the game. He only gave up one run in that eighth inning, but he dominated, and he's dominated the Mets. 3 starts last year, 21 innings, 20 strikeouts, .86 ERAs. That's 0.86, so Schwellenbach has had their number, but David Peterson has been pitching lights out as well. So tonight should be a goodie. Tomorrow favors the Braves, obviously. Paul Blackburn versus Chris Sale. But, hey, we had Paul Blackburn go up against the Dodgers and shut him out, so you just never know. This is starter Paul Blackburn, not reliever Paul Blackburn. So you might get a quality start at least out of him. And then Thursday, Clay Holmes versus Spencer Strider. Strider's got a 5.8 ERA against the Mets, but you just never know with Strider. He could go out and pitch 7 shutty with 10 strikeouts, or he could get rocked. So we'll see how they fare against Strider. I think the Mets take 2 out of 3 here. I like them to take 2 out of 3. I think they probably win tonight and Thursday and probably lose to Sale tomorrow. Sale has been pretty good against the Mets, but it's been spread out over the course of his career over the last 10 years, so it's hard to really have a feel of his actual numbers against the Mets because it's like 2013 and 2018 and 2021 and 2020. It's like every 3 or 4 years. He's like a presidential term he faces the Mets. So I didn't dive too much into Sale's numbers against the Mets, but big series. 10 games coming up. Divisional foes. These are the games that matter, folks. You know, you face the Rays, you face these teams that you're never going to see. You're seeing these teams. These are the teams that are right there below you in the standings. 3 in Atlanta, 3 in Philadelphia. We'll be there this weekend. And then 4 at home against the Braves. 10-game stretch. I'd love the Mets to, at the worst, go 6-4 here. I'd love for them to go 7-3. I think that might be ambitious. But 2 out of 3 this weekend. 2 out of 3 this weekend. 2 out of 3 this series. That's 4. That's 4-2. And then, split with the 4 in Atlanta. And if you go in 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, it's a 7-3 10-game stretch, and you'll sign up for that any day of the week. As the Mets starting to get reinforcements, at least rehabbing, and that starts with Brooks Raley. We already know, as we told you yesterday, Mark Vientos, there he is, the bobblehead. In a point. There it is. Mark Vientos will rehab for Syracuse tonight. So Mark Vientos should be back this weekend in Philadelphia. He's not going to need more than 3 games. So I'd imagine Friday or Saturday. Vientos is on the team now. How will he play? Maybe we'll talk about that later in the week. But, Carlos Mendoza is going to have his hands full. Is he going to start Vientos more? Is he going to start Beatty? Is Mauricio play? Does Mauricio get sent down? Like I've said on here, I think Jared Young makes the most sense to send down. He doesn't play, and he's really a DH. He's not really a good defensive outfielder. He's not really a first baseman. Like, you have Pete. Like, I just don't get where Jared Young fits. So I would prefer them send down Young, but we'll see what they do this weekend when Vientos, assuming he doesn't, knock on wood, get hurt in rehab here. He should be back Friday. But Brooks Raley, this is a guy that can be a huge, I don't know if I want to say X factor, but an integral piece to this Mets team when he comes back. Now, it's a 30-day window. Today's June 17th. That makes it July 17th, which is, the last day of the All-Star break. The Mets are back July 18th, home against the Reds from the All-Star break, which means July 18th, that weekend, Mets-Reds, Brooks Raley could be in a Mets uniform in Queens. With the timeline, you get 30 days. 30 days starts today. He's going to use the full 30 most likely because this is his spring training. Assuming no setbacks for Raley, if all okay, we could see him, a month from tomorrow at Citi Field. And that's a huge sign for this bullpen. And when you look now at this bullpen, when fully healthy, Diaz, great. Garrett's been great. Stanek has been a huge disappointment, so he has got to step it up. Brazoban's been good. Raley in there. Raley, before he got hurt, was huge for the Mets. Like, 2023, 54 and 2/3 innings. He had a 2.8 ERA. Last year, 7 innings, didn't give up a run before he had to have Tommy John. So this is a guy, and then 2022 with the Rays, 2.68 ERA. I mean, he's one of the best lefty relievers in the sport. So if he could come back and be 100%, that's going to be huge for the Mets to get Raley back. Right side, Budo. Then Castillo. Listen, Castillo's only given up 1 run since joining the Mets. So I have a hard time believing they'll DFA him with how well he's pitched, but we'll see what they do there. That would be their second lefty if they opt to have 2. Then Kranick if he sticks. And then kind of the fringe guys, Adcock and Garza. Adcock will go back to the minors. Garza will probably stay in the minors. I put McGill on there because he's going to be out of this rotation soon. Do they look at him as a guy who can be a reliever, or do they just send him to AAA? I'm fascinated what's going to happen with Tyler McGill. And then Daniel Nunez I put on this list because I think at some point this year we're expecting Daniel Nunez to return to a Mets uniform. Like, he came up, he had those command issues, he clearly was a bit shook. I feel like he's going to come back at some point with this team, so I put him on that list. And you could also add to the list Paul Blackburn. Like, does Blackburn move to the bullpen? Frankie Matas, does he not work out as a starter and the Mets throw him in the bullpen? So you can see left side I really love. Right side has question marks. And why you need to add is because that whole right side is full of question marks. And because Ryan Stanek has not been good. I think if Minter was here, if Stanek has been good, you'd be like, all right, we don't need bullpen help. You have a right side full of question marks. Raley coming off of Tommy John. Stanek, who's been bad. Garrett, who was thrown a lot of innings so far. We'll see how he holds up. This team has to add bullpen help. That is huge for these New York Mets. But glad to see Raley back. Glad to see Vientos back. We are sad to see that we have lost Ron Taylor. May he rest in peace. And I wanted to, have a section of the show to dedicate to Ron Taylor, because when you think about the 1969 Mets, and I guarantee you're watching this right now, and some of you are like, who the hell is Ron Taylor? Ron Taylor was an unsung hero of that team, and I am a guy that loves Mets history, that's fascinated by Mets history, that was in love with that 1969 team despite not being born. As a kid, I went to sports card and memorabilia shows and would meet any of the 1969 Mets I could and got them to sign this big picture I have. Hopefully I could find it. It's probably at my parents' house somewhere. I got to find it. It's a big picture. I forget the size. I'm not Bob the Builder, but a big picture. And I believe Ron Taylor was one of the guys that signed it. I believe I have 20 of the 25, 16. I don't have Seaver on the picture. I have Seaver on a ball, but I have 20 of the 25 Mets on a lot of the key players. And Ron Taylor was one of the key guys. This is a guy that had a 2.72 ERA, 13 saves in 76 innings. He had 5 2/3 scoreless innings in the playoffs, and he closed out Game 2 of the World Series getting none other than Brooks Robinson out on a ground ball to end the game. So, when you talk about that bullpen, we talk about Tug and Seaver and all these other guys and Clendenin and Cleon. We don't really talk about Ron Taylor. And he was really a key piece to this Mets team. And Taylor was 87 years old when he passed away. He also used to be the Blue Jays team doctor. How about that? A team doctor for the Blue Jays. a long time in the big leagues from 1962 through 1972. He pitched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons with the Mets where he had a 3.04 ERA. Just a really good reliever. We talk about starters. We don't talk about relievers a lot from that era. Now we talk about relievers because relief pitching is so important. But shout out to Ron Taylor because, we talk Tug McGraw. Let's show Ron Taylor, give him our flowers, and may he rest in peace. Thank you for helping the 1969 Miracle Mets. And, on that note, we talk a lot about the 69, the 86 Mets and these teams that we loved and, why we feel great about this team and what they could do. Because think about it, if they win, this is the team that we'll be talking about in 2047 when, I'm in crutches or I'm in a cane, I'm in a wheelchair, when I'm in a nursing home with Gretchen playing bingo. I want to be talking about the 2025 Mets. We've talked enough about the 69, the 86 Mets for years and years, and we still love it. I'm not knocking it, but we want a team of our own. Like the 35 and under crowd like me, we want a team of our own that we could rave about that won a championship and that I went down the canyon of heroes with. And I'd love it to be this year. I'd love it to be the first year I'm covering this team daily. I've done podcasts for years. I've interviewed everyone from, 62 to now, from Cranepool to Alonso. I've interviewed them all. I want this team to be the one, the 2025 New York Mets. So do it. Let's win. So we can be 69, 86, 25, 2025. R.I.P. Ron Taylor. All right, let's close out the show and look to yesterday's comments. Let's go to Stanley4723, who asked in the comments yesterday on Mets Daily. Again, comment below if you want us to read your comment tomorrow. Will Stearns be busy at the trade deadline? Stanley, I think he will be, and I've talked about it. I think this is, I wouldn't say a make or break trade deadline, but I think he's got to be aggressive. I think he dipped his toe in the water last year. I don't think he's going to trade the whole farm, but I think he's got to be aggressive in getting elite relief pitching and seeing what elite starters are out there. Because if you want to compete with the big boys like the Dodgers and some, look at the Giants now adding Devers. Giants are all in now. That is a blockbuster, massive trade. So, the Mets, you saw the graphic of the relievers. They need help, and they're not going to be healthy. All these guys won't be healthy. So add some pieces. So I do think Stearns is active. I do think they're buyers, and I do think they're a lot more aggressive. They may make less moves than they did last trade deadline, but I think they'll make more impactful moves than a Stanek and a Jesse Winker. Smash that thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to Mets Daily. Become a Mets Daily Insider below. Just click join. $5 a month. First exclusive video this weekend. I'm Jake Brown at Jake Brown Radio. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a happy hump day. Let's go Mets. Beat the Braves tonight and end that losing streak. Thanks for watching. Mets Daily.